You can do whatever you want, private or group. You should do what it is that you want. So don't be swayed by all these people saying group coaching is easy or group coaching is just like the only solution. You can make plenty of money doing either. Welcome to Season 5 of the Coach Pony podcast, and we are here to help you get paid to coach. And sometimes, to move forward, you just need your questions answered. In this Bridgerton-themed season of the podcast, join me and date coach Bobby Palmer as we answer your burning questions about your coaching business so you get more clients. After building 6- and 7-figure businesses of our own, we've learned a few things. So with that, let's get down to business.
Dear Coach Pony, all these successful coaches I follow have big group coaching programs, so it's led me to believe I should have a big group program. But I do enjoy one-to-one coaching. Is group coaching better than private coaching? It seems I could make more money doing group. Is that right?
Welcome to the podcast, everyone. I'm so glad you're here, and Bobby Palmer is back with us this week. Hello, Bobby.
Hello. I'm happy to be home.
Bobby, give us your hot take. What should this person do? Tell me.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's not all about money. I want you to really think first about what you enjoy and what you're really good at, because I think that's what's going to lead you to make the most money.
Yeah, this person mentioned they enjoy one-on-one coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I do think we all get caught up in what is possible in the coaching industry, and it can be very lucrative. And then we also get caught up in what other people are doing and then think that we must do the same. But I do have some help because we can actually just look at the data and do some money math to help anyone who's been having this debate with themselves. So I would argue that group coaching has a much higher ceiling in terms of what you can make because you can leverage your time better. But private coaching has a lower floor in terms of profit and being able to support yourself. So it's actually easier to support yourself and be profitable sometimes as a private coach than as a group coach. And so let me unpack this a little bit, and Bobby, you chime in. But for instance, let's say you're a private coach, and I'm just picking numbers that are easy to do quick math with in the moment, because math in the moment is not my strength. But let's say you have a package, a private coaching package, it's $5,000 per client, and then you get 20 clients a year. So that's less than 2 clients a month. So you're enrolling, 1.6 clients a month, 1.8 maybe. And if you do that, you've made $100,000 for the year, which I think any of us would argue is, you can support yourself, and it's very, very profitable. You might want to make more than that. That's awesome. You might want to make less than that. That's awesome too, but just that's a reasonable round figure. If we switch it and you launch a group program and you get 20 clients and you're charging $2,000 each, because likely you're going to be charging significantly less because it's not one-on-one, it's less touch. So therefore, group programs tend to be a lot less. Then you've made $40,000 for the year, and you'll need to run that same group program several times a year in order to make at least $100,000. And you'll have to keep marketing it all year and do launches and enroll people and then deliver, then do another launch and enroll people, then deliver. Some people might enjoy this, some might not. But to get to that 100,000 of 20 clients at $5,000 each for group, you could have 100 people at $1,000 each. So you'll have to find 100 people to enroll. You could have 50 at $2,000 each. Again, you'll have to find 50 people to enroll. That might seem like a lot or a little. If you enrolled 300 people and you're charging $2,000 each, that's awesome. Now you've made $600,000.
Yay.
But then you have to find 300 people. So that's what I mean by it has a higher ceiling. But the lower floor, and one other thing, and Bobby, then I want you to chime in, is, sorry, I'm really on a soapbox. When we private coach, it's you, it's a phone. It's very little infrastructure, maybe a calendar tool, maybe an assistant, maybe not. With group coaching, you often have to have a sales page. You usually have to have a more robust website. You're going to have some launch activity. You might have to spend a little bit of money if you have big dreams for yourself in terms of ads or something else in order to reach the audience that you need to reach to get to 600 people. You can usually, if you talk to 4 people about private coaching and have a consult, usually at least one of them will enroll, maybe more if you're good at selling private coaching. But group coaching, if you're selling it on your email list, maybe 1% of the people on your email list will buy your group coaching program. So if you have 1,000 people on your email list, maybe one, maybe 1 buys, or excuse me, maybe 10. That was bad math. 10 buy. And the numbers game is very, very different. So that's what I mean. Higher ceiling, but lower floor. Okay, that's enough of me. Bobby, what are your comments?
No, that was really, obviously, really important and really eloquent. And sort of another way to put it, because this was my sort of internal fight for so many years in my business. You want to, sort of the bottom line is, you want to not just look at what you're going to deliver and how much money you're going to gross, but what you're going to net. That's a lot of what Christy's talking about. So with private coaching, for instance, your marketing effort in a lot of ways does not have to be as robust. For me, I didn't have to, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this later, but I made a decision at a point in my business where it's like, I'm not good at marketing. I just wasn't great at it. So when I decided just to do private coaching, my costs went way, way, way down.
Talk to us about that for sure. What costs went down? Can you give me an example?
No advertising, because so much of my business was word of mouth. And I've said this before on other episodes. I had a lot of website traffic because of my blogging. So that is essentially free, right? $89 a month for my website maintenance. I didn't have to run programs throughout the year because, again, when you've got the people coming to your website, and when you've got people that are referring, that's just natural. That just comes. You're not spending money and you're not spending time on marketing, right? Facebook, keeping a Facebook group and keeping Facebook pages and on Insta and whatever the modality of the moment is.
Bobby, one other thing, when you ran group coaching programs in the past and did bigger launches, you often had additional employee support, correct? Did you let that go when you just focused on private?
Absolutely. So you've got I used Entreport for my CRM. So you've got your CRM. And when you do group coaching, there's so many details about first, you're starting with an email campaign, a really detailed email campaign to get people in. And then as you get people in, there may be an early bird offer that you have, and there may be a discount if they pay upfront versus, X amount of payments. Those are all things that have to be technologically, managed, like configured and managed and maintained. And so you have to pay someone to do that. And there were, I'm sort of, don't want to say this out loud, but I'm gonna.
Thank you.
There were years where I paid those people that were supporting me more than I made. Because that gets pricey. If they're experts and they're good at what they do, that gets pricey unless you're having really excellent results. You don't have that. I know, Christy, that's not your challenge. But for me, that was a challenge. It just, my group coaching, I was not registering as many people as I needed to really make it worthwhile for me financially. Even though I did enjoy it, but I also enjoyed doing 101. So you have to think about all the pieces of it, not just, oh, that looks fun. And if I could get 500 people, I could make $1 million. Yeah, you got to back into that and really look at what it takes to accomplish that.
I love a group program and I love talking about it to my students in Build Your Own Business, but I'm also very supportive of private. And what you said is something a lot of new coaches don't think about, which is when you stop doing group, you're able to let go of expensive staff and surge support, as well as some marketing activities, which is both time and money. And you were able to let your business be a little bit more organic and focus on the free channels that you had, which was your blog. And you also, with private clients, we've both seen this, there's a really good word of mouth referral. Once you start generating a little bit of interest and you get a few clients, your clients will often refer other people because people in their lives will be like, oh my God, you're doing so much better. How did you do that? And they'll be like, well, let me introduce you to my coach. And there's just something that strong relationship that you develop one-on-one with a coach that is never going to be as strong in a group program. That I think really incites people to share a little bit more and evangelize your work a little bit more. I like that because these are things we don't think about enough. And we think about top line revenue a lot, but what matters is profit. What matters is profit because that's what you get to keep.
Well, and you also get to keep your lifestyle, right? Your preferred lifestyle. And you also get to keep sort of your frame of mind, your peace that you may want in your life. So for me, chasing the super successful group program, I had some really great successes. That is true. But chasing that like month after month, year after year was not working the way I wanted it to. And it was more work than I wanted to do. It was exhausting for me and it was expensive. And so when I decided just to do group coaching, which by the way, people like Christy told me, maybe you should just do private. And I was like, no. Group is the way to go. That's how people make all that money, You know what? I loved the high touch. I loved the idea that, I'd have 2, maybe 3 clients in a day. And then I had a couple days off a week. I got to sort of form my life around, it was really reliable. I didn't have to be on Facebook every day posting stuff to like build my list. It just was a better for my lifestyle and better for my pocketbook. I ended up making a really good living doing group coaching. That was for me. That was really more than acceptable. It was positive. It was great.
Yeah, I feel like I know a lot of coaches in the private space who make between sort of $150,000 and $350,000, $100,000 to $350,000 a year, which is, pretty good. And many of them take at least a month off, maybe 2 in the year. So they have a fairly nice lifestyle. I went the other way. I started as a private coach, and then I love group coaching so much. And I also really love marketing. And I think that's one of the differences between you and me, and why I wanted to spend more of my time in group coaching is because I love interacting with more people, and I get to do that with my students. But I also really enjoy coming up with the different ways to market and think about the business. And that really gives me energy as well. So, we're different in that way. And that's why our businesses diverged a little bit.
Yeah. And I love group coaching, by the way. I do too. I mean, my background is in instructional design and corporate training. So I love, quote unquote, I haven't stood up in front of a group for a long time, but doing it virtually, I love it. But again, for me, I just wasn't best at it, and I don't enjoy the marketing piece.
Yeah.
So it can go to, and I did have make some good money doing it, but it was not fun, and it was not good for my marriage. Let me just say that. You have to think about. I was not good at it, so I was always sort of chasing my tail. It felt like. And trying things, and my ADD didn't lend me to like you, Christy, man. You could focus. You make plans months in advance, which is like, what's a plan? And so for me, I was always feeling like I was failing. And I finally got to the point where I was like, you know what? I have to be okay with not being like them. Because that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to be like those successful people that I see every day. And making those millions. And I was really glad I made the change. But so you have to think about a lot of things and be willing sometimes, like me, just to say, you know what? I don't need to make $500,000 a year. I'm, 60 years old. I'm old. Christy's not. I'm 60 something years old. I'm getting towards the end of my career, and I'm good. I'd rather enjoy more of my life.
Which is totally fair. And I will say, when I shifted from private to group, it was a little bit overwhelming how much more I had to learn and how quickly. And I did it iteratively because that's how I like to do things. So I never put pressure on myself to get everything right the first time. But launching that first student learning portal, getting the materials in, creating worksheets, like the tech, the thank you page, the sales page, like just thinking about the launch and how to get people excited about starting the program all at the same time. So I'd make some revenue from it. It was really overwhelming. And so I think it just, I just want to put that out there. It's not to say you can't do it. You can. Anyone can learn how to do it. But just like, let's expectation set for like what you're getting into, just because some very successful coaches are making a lot of money from group coaching. And I've definitely am one of those and have, do that. But it's not always the right solution for everyone. And it's not always sort of the easy thing of, just coach group, you'll make more money.
Yeah.
It's not quite that simple.
I'm just gonna get on Zoom and talk for an hour and make $1 million. So it's the thing about my private coaching, I never marketed. I mean, I literally did not have to market. I had a page on my website.
I was going to add, you didn't do a lot of marketing, but you did do a lot of writing. You got invited to write at eHarmony, as well as you wrote some really smart blogs with high keywords on your own site. And so I think a lot of that gave you a boost that just lasted for a long time.
It did. I mean, I was, in some ways lucky, and I was early on. Now everyone's a dating coach. So, right. There's 10 million instead of just 10. And I also want to point out, you changed, like we both changed, right? Like I started group. And then I was like, screw it. I'm doing private. And there's not a lot of coaches that do private anymore. I understand that because everyone's going for the millions. Okay. And you did the opposite. So I think that's a really good tip we need to share too, right? Is whatever you decide today or tomorrow doesn't mean you have to do it for a year or 10 years. You can always switch. And the experience you get doing one or the other always feeds into doing the opposite, right? I mean, you just learn so much.
Delicious.
I want to just as a random aside, one of the first times I spent a lot of time with Bobby was at a retreat, and she couldn't attend part of the retreat, which was such a bummer because I thought she was so cool because she was in the middle of a group program launch.
Yeah.
And she had so much to do with that launch. And I was just like, she's just.
If you could just be like me, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, I'm like, oh, here I am, private coaching. Like, there's Bobby doing launches. Like, she's so on top of it. And it's just interesting how, our businesses crossed each other and went the other way. So, and that's normal. You're right. I'm glad that you brought that up.
Tea time, milady. It's time to spill the tea.
So, Bobby, it's time for you to spill some tea on this. And I'd love for you to share a little bit about, you've already alluded to it, but I'd like to go a little bit deeper into this of you wanted to do large scale group programs. We've all looked at the Marie Forleos of the world, and you thought, okay, I want to do this for dating. And then you decided several years back you weren't going to do it anymore. So just let's get into this even deeper.
It was a really major decision on my part. As I said, I went after the big group coaching for a long time. And during that time, I was still doing private. So I never didn't do private, but I was really going for the big groups. And for the lifestyle, for income, for a lot of reasons, it wasn't, it just wasn't filling me up. It was sucking the life out of me. And a lot of it was ego. A lot of me staying in it and keeping to try again and again and again was ego, and was like, I don't want to be a failure, and all these other people can succeed, and I'm not, at least at the level at which they were. The tip I gave you at the very beginning is what I had to do, which is really step back and look at, what do I love to do? What am I good at? And how do I want my lifestyle to be?
What made you have that moment? Because we talked about it on and off over time. And then there's a moment where you're like, okay, this is it. What do you think brought you to that moment of, okay, I'm switching my business model?
My life was crazy. My life was crazy because of my business. My business was running my life. And it was not good for my marriage. Because I was obsessed. I was really obsessed with, how am I going to do this? It was like pushing that boulder uphill, but it kept rolling back down in some ways. And so I was really unhappy in my life. My income was still pretty good. I was happy with that, but my gross, but again, my net was killing me. And I had to look at, the financial aspect and just the way, lifestyle. And I was looking towards retirement. We moved to Mexico. My husband and I, we had a pretty big life change where we moved out of California to move to Mexico. And that was sort of to plan our retirement eventually. And that was all when this happened. Just a really good time to look at, how do I want my life to be for the next, 5, 10, 15 years? And it really was a great decision for me. So isn't that the most important thing, Christy? Don't look at you look at all these other people and see what they're doing and learn from them and get ideas and all that. But don't reach for being them. Really ground yourself in a foundation of who you are and who you want to be in the world, and what you need. Obviously, financially is important, but also just how you want to help people and what is really important to you. I look back at my career and I have to say I'm very proud of what I've done. I haven't made millions of dollars. I'm really proud of what I've done, and I've helped a lot of people.
One interesting thing that you don't hear that often is you had created a lifestyle with more freedom and you wanted more flexibility, and you stopped group coaching and went to private coaching to help with that life. That's really interesting. I'm only highlighting it because it's almost always the other way. So that's really interesting. And I want to say, I think we should share for people who haven't heard this before, but what is your package price?
My package price for a 4-month program is about $7,000. And I go up to 9 for a 6-month, which I really should be doing. I struggled a lot with raising my prices. And Christy, you were a person that consistently encouraged me to do that. So that's where I've landed towards the end of my career. That's pretty much where I've landed.
Yeah. And so Bobby's been a coach for a long time. And I also want to add, you have a lot of free stuff on your website, a lot of in-depth blogs and materials. For a long time, you offered like $10 webinars and other things so that people who couldn't afford to pay $7,000, which isn't a lot of money for a coach, could still get access and to get a little bit of extra support, and also community, because that was something I know is really important for you to connect not just these women with life partners, but with each other. And so, there's ways to charge a lot, but also to serve many. And I think you're an example of that too.
And one more thing I should bring up is I did do small group coaching, high touch small group coaching, which I really enjoyed too. So this was an offshoot of private coaching, and my over 40 love school, where I had maybe a dozen women. I mean, it wasn't a really big group, and the price point was about $5,000-$6,000. I've had several of those run once a year over the last few years. Because it is high touch, it's still not that, 200 people in a group kind of thing. But I loved it. I just loved it. And that I'm turning into a self-study so more women can get access to my coaching that way.
Yeah. And I just want to say, Bobby did not work hard to sell that one. She was going to do a webinar and all sorts of stuff. Then she's like, I'm just going to send a couple emails.
Yeah.
and that was it. So just doing it once a year.
I netted about 65 grand on that.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Yeah. I like that. And it was literally like 5 emails.
So I want to just underscore, because I don't want this to conflict with what I said at the beginning. Bobby was able to get away with that because she told everyone it was the last time she'd be offering this particular program. And it was. She's not going to offer Love School anymore. So she reached out to a segment of her list, and she was very thoughtful about who she informed about Love School as well. So people who were clearly very interested and engaged, she started an interest list, and those are the people that she emailed. So that was why she was able to get away with the program. A lot of people had been in our community for years, and they knew what her private coaching cost, and they knew this was the last chance. And so usually a launch would require more than what she did, but that's how she was able to do it. So, Bobby, let us get to some homework, because this isn't about us. But before we do, I want to do 2 things. First, I want to say who brings us this podcast. And this podcast is brought to you today by both Chocolate and Awesome. And the chocolate is homemade banana chocolate chip bread. And I wish I could give you the recipe, but all I'm saying is take any banana bread recipe and then just dump like 2 cups of chocolate chips in. Don't limit yourself to a cup like every recipe says. That's disaster. And the Awesome is Jumpstart Your Business Bootcamp. So if you've ever thought about starting a coaching business and you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed and you're not really making progress and you just want something super simple to get you started on the most important things, go to coachpony.com/bootcamp and join our simple 12-day program. It's only $97. So you can go try it out. See if it works for you. If not, just ask for a refund. And it is awesome. You'll join hundreds of other coaches in successfully getting your business going. Before we jump into the homework, I just want to recap a couple things, because I think there are some important things we said, which is 1, you can do whatever you want, private or group. Just you should do what it is that you want. And 2, groups has a much higher ceiling. You can make more money group coaching, almost certainly, in almost every case, except potentially executive coaching. But it has also like a much higher floor in some respects. Private coaching is a lower floor, meaning it's easier to get in and to get clients without having to do as much marketing often. And you can be profitable with far, far, far fewer clients, which sets up for some people, a very different lifestyle. So it's really just up to you. So don't be swayed by all these people saying group coaching is easy or group coaching is just like the only solution. You can make plenty of money doing either. I mean, if Bobby wanted to and she got, 20 clients a year, imagine how much money she'd be making. It would be pretty darn awesome. Okay, Bobby, let's do some homework.
Okay, here's my homework tip. I want you to forget about everything else, forget about everything outside of yourself, and really spend some time looking internally. Think about what you like to do. What would be the most fun for you? Who are the people that would be most important for you to help? And what do you think you're good at and you could enjoy doing? And then do the next piece that Christy's going to give you.
So the next thing I want you to think about is how much you want to market versus coach. So if you really just want to coach, you probably want to stick with private coaching because the marketing is so much easier. So much comes from word of mouth. If you want a group coach, you are going to have to spend a significant amount of your time marketing. So are you comfortable with that? Do you enjoy that? Every coach has to market somewhat, but people who want to have larger scale programs need to market a lot more. And Bobby, what is the final one?
Uh-oh.
I'll do it. It's do the money math. To this point, remember, whatever you decide, set your price and then think about how many people you'll need to get to hit your revenue goal for the year and what you need to support yourself. And for group, it's almost certainly going to be a lot more than for private. So do the money math and keep in mind too that for every private client, you probably need to reach about 4 people in your niche to get one private client. For every group client, you might need to reach 100 people, depending on how you're going to sell your group program. So it's quite a bit of a bigger audience, usually for group. Not always, but this is just a good rule of thumb. Think that through before you jump into the group coaching bandwagon and start thinking you're just going to, quickly build a 500 or 1,000 person program. Bobby, any last words of wisdom for everyone before we wrap up today?
Yeah, try to have fun. I get the idea about making money. It is really, really important. And also just never put aside what brings you joy.
I love that. I can't add anything else. So I'll echo Bobby and say focus on what brings you joy. And with that, we'll see you in the next episode. As always, thanks for listening. I appreciate you. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with another coach. And if you need more practical business help, for the love of chocolate, please go to CoachPony.com and sign up for a free guide and business training designed to help you get paying clients. We'll see you over at www.coachpony.com.